The city streets were wet from an early morning snow. Pavement reflected the pale sunlight, forming angular patterns on sidewalks and roads. Vehicles moved in measured intervals along the main streets. Engine hums and tire friction sounds were constant but subdued. Pedestrians walked at steady pace, coats zipped, hands in pockets. Sidewalks were uneven, with minor puddles formed from melting snow. Street vendors began arranging their goods, hot drinks, snacks, and newspapers, while delivery trucks maneuvered along side streets. Buildings reflected sunlight off glass facades. Low-rise and high-rise structures alternated along avenues. A man walked on the sidewalk. He wore a dark overcoat, tailored trousers, polished shoes. A leather briefcase rested in his left hand. Foot placement was steady, adjusted for uneven pavement. He walked past parked cars and occasional pedestrians, maintaining pace. Windows reflected sunlight at low angles. Minor ice patches were present along the sidewalk. Pedestrians and vehicles continued routine movements, creating a subtle ambient rhythm. At the intersection of Elm Street and Main Avenue, a child stood near the building entrance. Clothing was minimal, a thin sweater, frayed pants, and worn shoes. The child's shoulders were slightly hunched. Hands held a small container at chest level, extended outward. No movement occurred beyond minor adjustments to maintain balance. The man noticed the child from a distance of approximately 10 meters. He slowed his pace slightly. Foot placement remained consistent. The sidewalk width was 2 meters, with puddles on either side. No verbal interaction occurred initially. Pedestrians continued movement on adjacent sidewalks. Vehicles moved along nearby streets. The child's head turned briefly to observe passers-by. Clothing flapped lightly in the wind. Patches of snow and ice were scattered on the ground. The man stopped. Foot placement remained steady on the uneven sidewalk. Hands adjusted slightly on the briefcase. The child extended the container approximately half a meter toward the man. Sidewalk conditions were unchanged. Pavement contained minor cracks, puddles, and fragments of debris. Traffic signals changed, vehicles passed, and pedestrians continued their routine. The man paused for approximately 6 seconds. He shifted weight subtly, adjusting balance. The child remained stationary. Hands held the container at chest level, maintaining position. A memory surfaced. Years ago, the man himself had been in a similar situation. On a snowy morning, someone had given him a coat when he had none. The memory was clear, the coat covered his shoulders and arms, material warm and protective. Footsteps crunching on snow, the weight of relief. No verbalization occurred. After a pause, the man stepped backward along the sidewalk. Footsteps were measured, consistent. The briefcase remained in the left hand. Pavement contained small debris, puddles, and minor ice. The child maintained posture. Hands held the container at chest level. Clothing remained unchanged. Pedestrians continued walking past. Vehicles moved along adjacent streets. The man's pace remained consistent. Distance closed gradually to approximately 1 meter from the child. Foot placement adjusted to minor slopes and puddles. Sidewalk remained 2 meters wide, partially obstructed by street vendors' tables. The man unbuttoned his overcoat and removed it from his shoulders. The material was a wool blend, dark gray, dimensions sufficient to cover the child's torso and arms. He extended the coat toward the child in a straight, linear motion. The child adjusted hands, accepting the coat. The material rested naturally on shoulders and along arms. Minor adjustment of sleeves occurred to ensure proper placement. The man stepped back approximately 1 meter, returning to upright stance. Foot placement remained aligned with pavement irregularities. Pedestrians continued movement nearby. Vehicles passed along adjacent streets. Windows reflected sunlight. Pavement contained minor debris. The coat rested consistently along the child's torso and arms. The man continued walking along the sidewalk. Foot placement measured. Briefcase in left hand, swinging minimally. The child moved parallel along the sidewalk, coat in place. Pavement conditions remained unchanged. Buildings reflected sunlight, structural details consistent. Pedestrians maintained steady movement. Vehicles on adjacent streets continued forward motion. Puddles and ice patches remained visible. The man entered a nearby office building. Access card scanned, doors opened automatically. Footsteps along tiled lobby produced low-frequency sounds. Elevator doors opened. The man entered, traveling to the executive floor. At workstation, digital interface displayed winter collection initiative for clothing donations. Input executed, assign collection points, schedule delivery routes, coordinate volunteers. Operations completed without deviation. Inside the corporate warehouse, employees and volunteers began operational tasks. Clothing items, including coats, jackets, sweaters, and scarves, were collected from company storage. Each item was placed on sorting tables. Items were categorized by size, material, and type. Jackets measured for dimensions, labels verified, and condition checked. Volunteers documented each item digitally. Inventory counts recorded in spreadsheets. Transport vehicles were prepared for delivery routes. Packages were weighed, logged, and organized according to delivery schedules. GPS coordinates for distribution points were entered into navigation systems. Vehicle checks completed, tire pressure, fuel levels, and loading capacity verified. Volunteers received schedules specifying pickup locations, estimated travel times, and number of clothing units per route. All operational procedures adhered to company protocols. Vehicles departed from warehouse in staggered intervals. Engines idled, tire contact with pavement consistent. Vehicle speeds maintained between 25 to 30 km per hour. Routes followed predetermined GPS coordinates. At designated distribution points, items were unloaded. Inventory logs updated to confirm quantities delivered. Packages sorted by size and type, then distributed to recipients. Each delivery recorded with timestamp and GPS confirmation. Volunteers maintained consistent foot placement while handling packages. Material weights distributed evenly to minimize strain. Vehicles returned to depot following completed deliveries. Inventory reconciled after each route. Pedestrians and vehicles in surrounding streets maintained regular movement. Weather conditions remained consistent, pavement dry in most areas, minor snow patches remained. Over successive days, warehouse operations continued. Clothing items received from multiple locations. Volunteers verified incoming items, sorted, and prepared them for distribution. Vehicles executed multiple delivery routes daily. GPS logs verified route efficiency. Inventory counts recorded in real time. Items distributed systematically to designated districts. Delivery times monitored and maintained within operational standards. The corporate system documented all operational metrics. Number of items processed per day. Delivery time per route. Accuracy of inventory logs. Vehicle fuel consumption and maintenance schedules. All operations completed according to preset company standards. Digital dashboards displayed distribution metrics. Over 5,000 clothing units processed within initial weeks. Delivery points verified with GPS coordinates. Inventory reconciled against logs. Vehicles monitored via real-time tracking. Volunteers followed schedules with minimal deviation. Route efficiency maintained above 95%. Delivery times averaged 32 minutes per location. Data collected for operational review. Reports generated detailing total items distributed, route completion rates, and warehouse throughput. Metrics recorded for future planning. The program continued over multiple districts. Vehicles departed daily following GPS-planned routes. Volunteers monitored for completion of assigned tasks. Inventory reconciled after each delivery cycle. Warehouse operations continued with incoming clothing donations. Items sorted, labeled, and packaged according to operational procedures. Digital systems logged all entries and exits, providing real-time updates. Distribution points remained consistent. Delivery confirmed at each location. Volunteers followed operational guidelines. Vehicles returned to depot after completion of scheduled routes. After several weeks, total items distributed exceeded 5,000 units, including coats, jackets, and warm clothing. Delivery routes completed on schedule. Inventory reconciled and verified. Operational reports documented. Delivery accuracy. Route efficiency. Volunteer performance. Inventory reconciliation metrics. Vehicles, warehouses, and volunteers functioned according to established standards. Program concluded with operational review confirming all objectives achieved. City streets returned to normal routine. Pedestrians walked along sidewalks. Vehicles moved along streets. Weather conditions remained consistent. Pavement reflected sunlight. Winter collection program remained fully logged in corporate systems. Inventory confirmed accurate. Vehicles returned to depots. Volunteers completed scheduled tasks. Buildings reflected sunlight in angular patterns. Street vendors resumed normal activity. Delivery vehicles moved along side streets. Program operations concluded, operational metrics recorded for future reference. The Billionaire returned to the neighborhood streets where the initial encounter occurred. Footsteps were measured, briefcase in hand. Pavement contained minor ice patches and puddles. Buildings reflected sunlight, street width remained consistent at approximately 2 meters. The child from the initial encounter was visible, coat in place. Movement was consistent, maintaining balance while walking along the sidewalk. Footwear contacted pavement in regular intervals. Observations were made of other children and residents in nearby buildings. Clothing varied, with some showing signs of wear. Small groups moved along the street, vehicles passed along parallel roads. No verbal communication occurred initially. Volunteers accompanied the Billionaire, noting families and children in need. Each household was recorded, inventory requirements estimated. Children's clothing sizes and conditions documented. Footwear, jackets, and basic necessities logged for future distribution. Sidewalks, streets, and alleyways were mapped. GPS coordinates assigned to each distribution point. Data recorded digitally. Pavement, structural conditions of buildings, and pedestrian flow noted. Children maintained upright posture, holding containers, or walking alongside family members. Clothing appeared worn or insufficient for prevailing weather. Pedestrians continued routine movement without interruption. Volunteers delivered clothing items directly to identified households. Packages contained coats, scarves, gloves, and boots. Inventory recorded at each delivery point. GPS confirmation obtained. The child from the initial encounter received additional clothing items appropriate for age and size. Volunteers assisted with placement of coats and shoes, ensuring proper fit and coverage. Foot placement, posture, and handling of materials observed. Vehicles remained positioned on streets for operational efficiency. Delivery points completed systematically. All data logged digitally for tracking. Local media outlets recorded the operations. Cameras captured the process, vehicles arriving, volunteers distributing items, children receiving clothing. Photographers documented packages, placement, and inventory confirmation. Footage included street-wide perspectives, individual households, and warehouse operations. GPS coordinates confirmed for accuracy. Timestamped video logs created for reference. No verbal commentary was added in raw footage. Metadata included date, time, location, and operator ID. Media files uploaded to digital servers. Images and videos were shared on social platforms. Engagement metrics recorded: number of views, shares, and interactions. Content retained metadata including timestamps and geolocation. Community response monitored. Additional clothing donations logged. Volunteers recruited based on operational demand. Logistics updated in real time. Routes adjusted to accommodate increased distribution points. Footwear, jackets, and winter clothing tracked from warehouse to final recipients. Inventory logs maintained accuracy within 1%. Corporate operations expanded to include multiple districts. Vehicles dispatched simultaneously along predetermined routes. Volunteers coordinated using digital interfaces, GPS systems, and schedules. Inventory managed centrally. Packages categorized and loaded efficiently. Real-time data ensured accurate distribution. Delivery routes monitored for efficiency. Volunteers followed pre-assigned schedules. Footwear and clothing distribution increased proportionally to recorded demand. Program metrics tracked and analyzed daily. Vehicles maintained operational safety checks, fuel levels, and tire condition. Program transitioned from initial distribution to sustained winter initiative. Corporate systems updated for ongoing operations. Volunteer schedules repeated in regular cycles. Inventory procurement continued based on historical demand. Data dashboards displayed distribution rates, operational efficiency, and delivery accuracy. Inventory reconciled daily. Vehicles routed optimally for maximum coverage. Footwear and clothing items distributed according to recorded size and type. Digital records indicated total items distributed, over 15,000 units across multiple districts. GPS confirmation and timestamps verified deliveries. Volunteers maintained schedules, inventory reconciliation remained within operational standards. Children and households recorded in program database. Packages accounted for at each location. Vehicles, volunteers, and warehouse operations monitored continuously. Metrics reported for internal review and operational optimization. The Warm Winter program became integrated into corporate social responsibility initiatives. Standard operating procedures codified. Employee participation recorded. Operational metrics documented for auditing. Program systems included digital dashboards, inventory tracking, GPS-monitored distribution, and volunteer scheduling. Vehicles, warehouses, and delivery points functioned according to established protocols. After multiple winter cycles, operational metrics indicated successful execution of program objectives. Over 15,000 items distributed. Delivery accuracy maintained above 98%. Route efficiency averaged 95%. Inventory reconciliation within 1% discrepancy. Corporate systems retained full documentation. Program protocols established for future cycles. Vehicles, warehouses, and volunteers maintained readiness for upcoming initiatives. City streets returned to normal routine. Pedestrians walked along sidewalks. Vehicles moved along streets. Pavement reflected sunlight. Winter collection program fully logged in corporate systems. All operations completed as planned. Lesson derived: observing individual needs, taking action, and systematizing support can create sustained impact. Small initial actions, such as giving one coat, scaled into structured programs benefiting thousands.